What a Strange Little Colt. Written by Linwood. Chapter 2. Fickle Honesty. Wednesday evening. Just outside an unassuming-looking door, Dr. Horse paused, turning to face Rainbow Dash. Before you go in there, I should warn you, miss. This is not a normal Colt.
Huh?
Rainbow stopped and tilted her head.
What do you mean by that, Doc?
The doctor shifted his weight from hoof to hoof. He looked uncomfortable, almost nervous. It's just that he's been behaving very peculiarly. He rarely speaks, he mostly stares. We're not really set up to handle this sort of situation at the moment. He rubbed his neck with the hoof. It's best if you see for yourself. Then he pushed open the door. The little green Colt sat in the middle of his hospital bed. Its size made him seem very small, tiny even, and he was already small and thin enough that he really didn't need its help. A pillow propped him up, and a patchwork of bandages ran around his middle and spiraled up one of his hooves, which had been splintered along with a wing. Yet more bandages clung to his skull, wrapping around his head and forcing his mane to stick out in clumped tufts. He held a bright red foal's cup with both hooves, and his deep brown gaze currently focused on the crazy-looking toy straw that twisted into the shape of a butterfly and vanished straight into his mouth. Nurse Redheart sat on the bedside stool that looked like it had seen much better days, frazzled and drained. She perked up when Dr. Horse, followed by Rainbow, into the room.
Horse?
She nodded.
And Miss Dash, too. I was wondering when you would be by.
She turned to the doctor.
Have you...
Dr. Horse cut her off with a wave of his hoof. Yes, I let her know. Now go ahead and take a break, Redheart. I know you've earned it. Redheart nodded, looking relieved, and trotted out the door. The doctor cantered to the Colt's bedside, but Rainbow Dash followed behind at a far more nervous pace. She bit her lip as she watched the foal, who had his face so screwed up, you'd think he was trying to do math in his head instead of drinking out of a cup. The relief that came with him seeing him there, apparently managing just fine, was immeasurable. But now she didn't know what to say. Ask him if he was okay? What happened to him?
Maybe I should just start with his name.
The doctor tapped him gently on his shoulder. Gabriel, you have a visitor.
What kind of name is that?
He looked up at Dr. Horse, who nodded towards Rainbow, and she gave a tentative wave.
Hey, kid. Are you okay?
His eyes had at least doubled in size, and his eyebrows had disappeared underneath the edge of his mussed-up mane.
No way,
he said as if Princess Celestia herself had just walked through the door. Rainbow blinked.
What?
I can't believe it, the foal said.
You're Rainbow Dash.
That threw her for a loop.
You know me?
You know her? Dr. Horse said with an equal amount of confused surprise. Horse looked at Rainbow with a somewhat shocked look. That's the most he said at once, you know. She looked back at the foal.
So, are you a fan of mine, kid?
The Colt blinked, looking at her for entirely too long.
You're famous. Yeah, I guess I am famous.
Rainbow replied with a little smile, holding her head a little bit higher.
But I'm not that famous, not like the Wonderbolts or anything.
Not that she didn't like the recognition, but getting used to being an element of harmony took a while. Then Rainbow realized she was grinning to herself and cleared her throat.
So, your name's, Gabriel.
She did her best to parrot the strange name Dr. Horse had used.
Gabriel,
he corrected, though if she was being honest, Rainbow couldn't really tell where she had gone wrong.
But also I'm called Gabe.
At least that's easier.
I've never heard of a name like that before,
Rainbow said, trotting up closer, up to the side of his bed.
Where's it from, Gabe?
The name felt so strange coming out of her mouth. What did it mean? What kind of mean-spirited parent would give their kid a name like that? It's practically asking to be bullied. The Colt bit his lip and looked back down at his cup.
It comes from a really old story, I think.
He spoke with a peculiar accent, barely different enough to notice. Weird.
Really? It must not have been any story I have ever heard.
As the two spoke, the doctor gave Rainbow an encouraging smile and moved to check the clipboard at the end of the Colt's oversized bed.
So, how are you feeling, kid? When I found you, you were in pretty bad shape.
The foal, Gabe, gave her a funny look.
You're the one that found me? Yeah, I am.
Rainbow grinned and puffed out her chest just the tiniest bit.
I scooped you up and flew you back here quick as a wink. Probably the fastest any pony ever crossed Ponyville. Good thing, too, because something roughed you out pretty darn bad.
Oh, well, thank you very much. The foal was being surprisingly polite, Rainbow realized. She expected another foal to be scared stiff of all the strangers crying to go home, but nothing about this foal struck her as normal, at all. He didn't look scared, really just numb and confused.
What kind of fall is this? And I'm okay,
he continued.
It's not too bad.
That nearly made Rainbow's eyes bug out of her head. The condition that she found the foal in would have hit a grown mare like a train. But no, it seemed like the only trouble he was having was keeping the cup propped up.
Joys of a splintered leg, I guess.
She turned to the doctor.
What kind of spells do you have this kid on?
She asked under her breath. The doctor only offered a raised eyebrow. The top shelf stuff, apparently. I didn't cuss them. Rainbow coughed in her hoof and looked back to the foal.
So, kid, I gotta know, what happened to you? How'd you wind up in such a bad shape?
The stare he gave her in response was haunting. His eyes looked scared, sad, horrified, and angry, all at the same time, but the rest of his face stayed perfectly level. Rainbow realized that she had started to step back, raising one hoof slightly off the ground. I don't remember, he said with the calm of a pile of rocks. Then it was time for a sip from his butterfly saw. Rainbow remembered herself and set her hoof down. Well, said the doctor, thankfully breaking the silence. We'll make sure you get better as soon as possible. I'm sure your parents will be relieved to know you're okay. Can you tell me their names? That made the Colt look away. He spoke in a very quiet voice.
My parents, they aren't around.
Rainbow's breath caught in her throat and she saw the doctor's eyes widen. Oh. After a moment's hesitation, he made for the door. I'll be back soon. I have to send for some pony. Then he was gone. Things in the room got very quiet, save for the slurping of the toy straw trying to suck up the last drops of juice.
What the heck do I say to something like that?
The Pegasus thought. He then took a deep breath, letting it out in a sigh.
I'm sorry to hear that, kid.
Gabe blinked and spoke without being asked a question, which caught the sighing Pegasus by surprise.
Miss Dash, am I really in Ponyville?
Rainbow began.
Are you not from here? No, not at all,
said Gabe. Rainbow set herself down on the stool and leaned forward.
Well, where are you from then?
The foal looked down at his now empty cup, his eyebrows furrowed, and thought. A little town up north, he said eventually.
It's called Westfield. I've never heard of Westfield,
said Rainbow, putting a hoof to her mouth and thought.
Wow, I'm famous in places I didn't know existed. That's pretty awesome, actually.
The Colt nodded.
A northern town called Westfield. Wait.
The Pegasus mare spoke after she thought for a moment.
How'd you get all the way to the edge of Ponyville in the first place?
I don't remember. Rainbow frowned at that a little. There was an awful lot of this Colt that didn't remember. What in Celestia's name had happened to bring him from the north, which was a real flight even for her, all the way to Ponyville? She'd have to ask questions if a certain realization hadn't dropped a lightning bolt right into her spine, and her eyes widened.
You said you've never been to Ponyville, right? Yeah,
said the Colt, still fiddling with his straw.
And we're the only ones you visited?
Mm-hmm. Rainbow put the tip of her hoof to her chin.
Weird. I would have thought she'd have gotten here before.
A very poofy, bright pink head peeked through the little window in the hospital room door.
I hear somebody new in there,
came an excited but muffled voice, followed shortly by an intense, melodramatic gasp.
What? Dashie beat me here? How can this be?
The door leapt open with a dramatic clang of strange hinges. Ponyville's party pony, the ever-energetic Pinkie Pie, wasted no time bouncing over to Gabe, jabbering her head off and making the most expressive faces that Rainbow had ever seen. Well, since last time she saw Pinkie Pie.
I knew that somebody new in town was because my back left hoof was itchy twitchy, and I knew it was a foal because it was itchy twitchy, not itchy witchy, like the way it is for grown-ups. And I just knew that I had to give you the warmest, huggiest, most super-licious Pinkie Pie welcome ever. So I made a big batch of super yummy cupcakes, but then my well got wiggly, and I knew supporting the hospital would need more than just normal cupcakes, so I made a brand new batch of extra super yummy cupcakes to make somebody who was having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day into somebody who was having an extra special new friend day. So I brought one out of the hospital with a super nice merit friend said that I had to wait for the doctor to come back, but I just couldn't stand by, and while a foal was so horribly cupcakeless, so I got a super sneaky and sneaked so fast the mayor couldn't stop me from getting all the way to your room. And then I saw Dashy and was already here, and I was like, what? But that's okay because now it's a party, and at a party you're always supposed to introduce yourself to people you don't know, even if they have super duper weird and scary eyes. So hi, my name's Pinkie Pie. What's yours?
At that point, the bright pink pony had climbed all the way up to the hospital bed. Her eye-to-eye stare had backed Gabe far into his pillow where it had started to swallow him. For a moment, no pony moved, and the room, despite containing Pinkie Pie, was completely silent.
Well, that's not right,
said Pinkie rather abruptly, leaning away and drawing a hoof up to her chest.
You don't say.
The pink pony made a very serious, wide-eyed face for a second.
You say your name, silly. That's okay, though. You can try again.
The foal's attention jumped to Rainbow, and he gave her the slightest pleading look. Rainbow chuckled a little.
It's all right. My friend's just trying to be, friendly. You can tell her your name.
He looked back at Pinkie.
It's Gabriel.
Pinkie sprang up on her hind legs and pressed her hooves to her face.
Wowie! That's the most super specialist, uniquest name I've ever heard.
She then fell back down and grabbed his unsplinted hoof with surprising care, extending it so his hoof pointed out and bumped it.
It's super duper pleasure to meet you, Gabriel. Miss Pie, you get down here from there this instant.
Pinkie's head snapped around to look at the doorway, where three very annoyed-looking ponies stood. Their ears fell back right away. Pinkie chuckled sheepishly as she clambered off Gabe's bed.
Sorry, but I just had to give Mr. Real here the best welcome to Ponyville ever.
Dr. Horse raised an eyebrow and kept his eyes half-lidded. And now that you have, Miss Pie, which I'm sure he appreciates, but you really need to learn to listen to the staff. We're looking out for our patient's best interest here.
Oh, yeah,
Pinkie said, looking down and scratching the floor with a hoof. Now, Miss Pie, Miss Dash, I'm afraid that I have to ask you to leave. We have somebody here this foal needs to meet, and visiting hours are almost up.
Somebody he needs to meet?
Rainbow took a closer look at the two ponies behind the Dr. Horse. The sight of a positively drained flowing field brought gratitude to her heart, but the other rang very few bells in Rainbow's head. The saddleback stranger looked middle-aged. She had a sand-tan coat, a light brown mane, and a cutie mark of her heart wrapped in a bandage. Unlike the other two, the mare directed her focus not at Pinkie, but the foal, studying him with her bright blue eyes. Rainbow's heart sunk a little, but she knew how. Convincing the staff could be from personal experience. They did not take the well-being of their patients lightly.
Sure thing, Doc,
she said, and then she turned to the foal sitting in the hospital bed.
Hey, kid, it was, good meeting ya. Are you gonna come back?
He asked, tilting his head. Rainbow blinked.
What? This random kid wants me to come back?
She thought. Truth be told, her anxiety about the foal had been satisfied. Parents or no, he was alive, and in a whole building bustling with ponies who could help him a whole lot better than she could.
Why does he want to see me again? Is it because I'm the awesome Rainbow Dash? Maybe it's because... Oh crap, everyone's staring at me. Come on, Dash, think of something to say. Do you want me to? Yes.
He gave her a small but heartwarming smile, the first she's seen from him. I guess it wouldn't hurt to come back one more time and make sure everything's alright.
Sure, kid,
she replied, flashing him a confident grin.
Come on, Pinkie. Okie dokie. Nice meeting you, Gaby.
Pinkie gave the foal the big wave and her biggest, whitest, happiest smile, and then followed Rainbow Dash past the three ponies and out the door. At least she would have if she hadn't stopped in place and jumped straight up, avoiding concussing herself on the frame by a hair.
Oh my gosh, I almost forgot.
She pulled the cupcake from her mane in the blink of an eye and rushed back to Gabe's bed.
It's extra super yummy. Believe me, I used all my super special. Pinkie,
Rainbow called from the door.
Okay, here it is. Welcome to Ponyville. Gotta run by.
She dropped in front of his bed and leapt across the hospital room to join Rainbow at the door, where she gave Rainbow an excited smile.
So spill it,
she said as the two started down the hall, away from the strange foal's room.
How'd you beat me to him?
Rainbow huffed a tired laugh.
Well, this morning I was flying over those fields outside town.
there we go. The end of part 1 at a perfect halfway point. Author, points to you, because it cuts off right there to the next section. That is amazing, and perfect for video making. That aside, however, I would like to thank my wonderful Patreons. Thank you, my tier 1 Patreons, Squall, Windfeather, Bryant, Starlight, Blaze, Stu Hex, and Dreamless Portal. My tier 2 Patreons, Chase Lemaster, Sword Brother and Mordred, Nocturne, Solus, RD Bryant, Captain Blueshadow, HK-H4 aka Texture, and the Animated Ghost. And of course, a large thank you to Silent Titan. I appreciate your guys' support so much, and it means a ton to me. That aside, however, I hope you have enjoyed. This has been Firehearth. Have a wonderful day.